Hello, everyone. Welcome to Latin American Voices in Politics 2022. Before we begin, I want to ask you to take a moment to select the language you speak in the button named Interpretation below. If you speak English, please select the English button too. Don't stay in the original audio channel.
Olá a todos, sejam bem-vindos à Voz Latino-Americanas na Política 2022. Antes da gente começar, eu quero que vocês pedir para vocês selecionarem o botão de interpretação aqui abaixo. Dessa forma, vocês vão poder ouvir a conferência inteira sendo traduzida simultaneamente para a língua que vocês selecionarem. E mesmo que vocês queiram escutar a conferência em inglês, por favor, cliquem no botão em inglês, não fiquem no canal de áudio original.
Hola a todos, bienvenidos a la edición 2022 de Voces Latinoamericanas en la Política. Antes de comenzar, quiero pedirle que seleccione el idioma que desee en el botón de interpretación en la parte inferior de la pantalla. De esta manera, podrá escuchar la traducción de toda la conferencia simultáneamente al idioma que seleccione. Aunque quiera escuchar la conferencia en inglés, seleccione el botón Inglés, no continúe en el canal de audio original. Now that you're all connected to the translation channels, let's begin. It is an honor for us to welcome you all here. My name is Isa Calero Forero. I'm Ecuadorian and Colombian, and I'm currently studying Iberian and Latin American cultures at Stanford University. I'm the co-founder and co-chair of Latin American Voices in Politics.
My name is Melissa Oliveira. I'm Brazilian. I study political science at Stanford, and I'm also the co-founder and co-chair of Latin American Voices in Politics. In this opening ceremony, we will introduce you to Latin American Voices in Politics, as well as give a brief overview of the other activities of the conference and logistics.
Before we begin, we wanted to announce that, unfortunately, our keynote speaker, Jacqueline Alvarez, had an unforeseen circumstance this morning and will not be able to join us for our opening ceremony. We deeply apologize for this. However, the rest of the conference agenda will remain the same with our previous confirmed panelists.
Latin American Voices in Politics is a series of conferences from students for students that aims to promote dialogues about the future of Latin American public policy, led by specialists in the field. This year, we chose to focus on environmental policy. In 2021, we hosted our first edition of the conference that focused on public health policy.
Before we tell you more about why we decided to create LVP, we wanted to thank all of the people that made this conference possible.
This wouldn't be possible without our core team, so thank you very much. Tara Hain, Luis Quiroga, Sabiam Polanco, Jesus Olivares, Rachel Rivera, Mark Rojas, Heidi Baitillo, Alejandra Campillo, Amaru Ordóñez Jacobson, and Edwin Amaya. We're also extremely grateful for the support provided by the Freeman Spogli Institute at Stanford University. And a special thanks also to our faculty advisor, Professor Roberto Diaz. And lastly, a huge thank you to all of the panelists that agreed on joining us this weekend.
For the second edition of the Latin American Voices in Politics Conference, we chose to focus on environmental policy due to the relevance that Latin America and the Caribbean have when we talk about the environment, especially considering that there is still much to be done to preserve biodiversity and reduce the impacts of climate change in the region. Latin America and the Caribbean are some of the most biodiverse places on Earth, housing over 40% of the world's biological diversity on only 16% of the global land. In addition, this region houses the Amazon rainforest, the Amazon River, and many other important natural resources that are constantly being disputed and need to be protected.
The region of the Amazon rainforest counts with more than 33 million inhabitants, among city inhabitants, indigenous peoples, and other native communities. In addition, the Amazon rainforest is also home to the largest biodiversity in the world. Still, it is greatly threatened by deforestation. It is estimated that around 18% of the original forest has already been completely destroyed, and the rates of deforestation are increasing in the past years, with an increase of around 22% in 2021, the highest rate of the past 15 years.
Latin America and the Caribbean represent the second region most prone to natural disasters. Since 2000, 152 million people in the region have been affected by 1,205 disasters, among floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, extreme temperatures, wildfires, and others. These extreme numbers only start to highlight the impact of the environment and environmental disaster in the lives of people and in the future of the planet. It is also well known that financial interests often restrict countries from creating more effective environmental policy. In addition, marginalized communities that have close connections to preserving the nature, such as indigenous peoples, are often excluded from the decisions about environmental policy.
The idea for this conference series surged from the sense of urgency and our desire to help. We believe that the only way to reduce all inequalities and achieve structural, economic, and political development in Latin America is through public policy. To achieve this public policy, it is necessary to consider the needs of populations that are usually not represented, choose research-based policies that actually have an impact, and implement them effectively. It is also fundamental to include young people and students in these dialogues, because they will be the future researchers, the future politicians, and the future third sector agents who will impact public policy.
Having dialogues between different countries and sectors is a core aspect of our conference, because we believe that collaboration between countries in a region and the private, public, and non-governmental sector is fundamental for the development of effective public policies in our region. In each of our panels, we hope to bring three main perspectives. One, comparative research that looks at different environmental policies in the region through the lens of different researchers throughout Latin America. Two, implementation and administration of environmental policy from the perspective of policymakers and government officials. And three, the necessities and impact of environmental policies on different communities through the lens of community leaders and third sector agents. We hope to bring these perspectives in our three panels: biodiversity preservation, energy policy, and environmental justice.
Joining us in our audience today, we have people from 25 different countries from all over the world. And most of our attendees are students, but we're also joined by professors and workers from the environmental sector.
We are also delighted to present our esteemed panelists, which come from 7 different countries and include representatives from multilateral organizations, as well as researchers, activists, and former ministers.
Before we end our opening ceremony, we wanted to go over some of the logistics of the conference and go over our programming for today. This webinar will be where all of the panels will take place. In between the panels, the room will remain open. We'll also have our panelist workshop for those who have registered and have been assigned to them. If you have been assigned to them, you should have received the link to join them yesterday. You can also check our agenda on our website and in the brochure we sent to all of you.
Our first panel will be biodiversity preservation with Elsa Galarza and Isabela Teixeira, former ministers of the environment of Peru and Brazil, respectively, as well as Sonia Guajajara, Brazilian indigenous activist and the first indigenous person to run for vice presidency.
The second panel at 4:30 p.m. EST is the energy policy panel with Juan Carlos Obe, the former Minister of Energy of Chile, Dr. Ricardo Mota Palomino, General Director of the National Center for Energy Control of Mexico, Claudio Sipak, Executive Director of Generadoras de Chile and Stanford faculty, and Dr. Ángel Balderas Puga, researcher at the Autonomous University of Querétaro and the Querétaro Institute of Technology.
We will also host a career panel to discuss different professional paths in environmental policy with 3 amazing professionals in the area. Dr. Janice Cumberbatch, a researcher and lecturer of social and environmental management at the Center for Research Management and Environmental Studies. Felipe Verástegui, green hydrogen specialist at the Ministry of Energy of Chile, and Jazmín Rocco Pedrazi, climate policy coordinator at the Environment and Natural Resources Foundation.
Our last panel at 7:30 p.m. EST will be the Environmental Justice panel with Jorge Uriana, environmental and indigenous activist in Colombia, Pasco Sarmiento, Quilombola leadership of Salvaterra in Pará, and pre-candidate for state representative for the Quilombola parliamentary group, Dr. Matias Franchini, assistant professor of international relations at the Universidad del Rosario and researcher on global environmental governance and climate change issues, and Liliana Avila, senior attorney of the Human Rights and Environment Program in the Inter-American Association for Environmental Defense.
Thank you all for being here with us today. Once again, we want to apologize that our keynote speaker was not able to join us, but all of our panels and schedules remains the same. We look forward to the rest of the day. We will now go on a break to accommodate the time zones, and the biodiversity panel will begin in around 45 minutes. Thank you
so much.